This morning, President Obama going to the National Counterterrorism Center where he will meet with his national security team and talk again about the fight against ISIL. The president plans to visit San Bernardino on Friday and meet with the victims of the mass shooting there. There are new concerns in San Bernardino, California after that attack that left 14 people dead. Fear. Muslims there are fearing anti-Muslim backlash. Al Jazeera's Jennifer London has more.
I'm an attorney.
I am a certified nurse assistant.
I work to provide social services for families in need.
Meet Todd Gallinger, David Williams, and Arbaz Mohammed. They live and work in Southern California's Inland Empire east of Los Angeles. They're professionals, caring citizens, husbands and fathers.
Because you're inside the car?
They're also Muslims, shocked that a terrorist attack happened in their community, while at the same time facing fears that an anti-Islamic backlash is brewing.
I do have family members and good friends who've had issues and been threatened. There's this horrible political environment that's taking place, and that does spill over into our personal lives.
Attorney Todd Gallinger is talking about Donald Trump's recent announcement at a campaign stop in South Carolina following the mass shooting in San Bernardino.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
So we wondered, what would happen if Trump's call to ban Muslims became a reality? What would be lost if an entire group of people were suddenly shut out? Healthcare providers, attorneys, social workers, religious leaders, gone.
The idea of it is ridiculous, but even ridiculous ideas can still be dangerous.
Mark Manley is the religious leader at the Middle Ground Muslim Center. If you were to take Donald Trump's comments and that actually happened, then what would this community look like?
I'd say, well, what if there were no Mexicans? What if there were no Vietnamese? What if there were no Jews, right? I mean, just imagine it would look like it would have a gaping hole in it, right? It would look like Swiss cheese. It would be incomplete.
Although the size of the Muslim American population is difficult to measure, in part because the U.S. Census doesn't track religious affiliation, it's estimated California has the nation's largest Muslim community, accounting for 1% of the state's total population, with the majority living right here in Southern California. What if healthcare worker David Williams, who also volunteers to help feed the homeless, wasn't allowed into the country because of his faith?
So you could imagine if those services weren't there to those people who needed it, you know, and that's something that we offer for number one reason, because we care, we're human beings, but also because our faith teaches that.
And what about the work Arbaz Mohammed does helping needy families?
The community would suffer immensely because you're taking away a lot of social services from this community, a lot of people that are helping the community, a lot of people that are out there, you know, serving people. You know, we're just the average person trying to go to work, go to school, you know, provide for our families, provide for the community, and do what we can in this world.
Back at the Middle Ground Muslim Center, Mark Manley offers his afternoon prayers. He is unapologetic about his faith and his followers who contribute to this community.
I think we should stand up not just for the selfishness of protecting ourselves, but also seeing that when we do that, we're protecting perhaps some other group in the future. I'm not somebody that really wants to live in fear. I mean, I think James Brown said it best that, you know, I'd rather, you know, die on my feet than live on my knees.
Jennifer London, Al Jazeera, Southern California's Inland Empire.
So let's dig deeper into the politics of fear. That is Laura Brown. She's an associate professor at George Washington University, and she is joining us live from Washington, D.C. Professor, thanks for being with us. America is afraid. This is not the first time, because who can forget FDR and that famous speech during World War II? Take a listen.
Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
But the question that we ask you this morning, is this latest round of fear based on fact, or is the political process being used to drum up fear, to drum up votes?
Well, first, thanks for having me on this morning. And I think what's important to really understand about our current moment is there are a lot of fears that are coming together. You know, as a nation, we have really never sort of gotten over the 9/11 attacks. I mean, we are still kind of reeling from those, and uncertain about what this war on terrorism, which began so long ago and still hasn't seemed to had any conclusion, and in fact appears to be in some ways spinning out of control. I think that's a big part of what's happening.
Is it
so
that
there
we're
is
not?
that,
Is it that we haven't gotten over it?
Reality.
Excuse me. Is it that we haven't gotten over it, or that we're not allowed to be over it?
Well, I think that's a great point, because there is no doubt that both the politicians and the media have really sort of an interest in continuing to drive fears, because it basically engages people. And what you see is that people watch television and they pay attention to politicians when they are talking about things that scare them.
How can you tell when fear is being used, though, for political purposes? Because I want to play for you that infamous statement preceding the war in Iraq. Take a listen.
Knowing these realities, America must not ignore the threat gathering against us. Facing clear evidence of peril, we cannot wait for the final proof, the smoking gun that could come in the form of a mushroom cloud.
So America went to war based on the fear that we should attack them before they attack us. Now we have a candidate who is basically calling for a ban on all Muslims coming into the country. But we did some research, the UN saying ISIL is directly connected to more than 10,000 deaths in Iraq. Most of them are Muslims. So what is fact, what is fiction, and why so much fear?
Well, again, I mean, I think one of the things that we do have to do as we sort through these things is understand that Americans are sort of justified in their fears of not understanding terrorism. You know, as a country, this country has not been attacked on its soil. 9/11 really was that sort of first, instance where, we felt, wow, the homeland is not safe. You can go back to Pearl Harbor, but Pearl Harbor was a military installation, and it was in Hawaii. So there was this sense that something new had changed, and something that we did not know has changed. So there is that. But of course, you also have this desire of politicians to make sure that they garner votes. And there is nothing that sort of garners votes than a kind of profession of strength, right?
Which party?
Somebody proclaiming,
if you will.
Well, I think what you see is that obviously the last time that the Republicans won, and they won on this security issue, was in 2004 when they won the White House. And the last two presidential elections have dealt with economic issues. Both of the parties are measured essentially equally in terms of their performance on those things. But the public, not just Republicans, the entire public actually believes that Republicans are better on handling terrorism and national security issues. So one of the problems for Democrats is that if Republicans have an opportunity to use that issue to frame an election, they will.
So then let me,
Democrats don't have a good response.
I've got 20 seconds left. How do we know when we should rightfully be afraid, and how do we know when we're being snookered for political reasons?
Well, again, I mean, I think in the immediate aftermath of any attack, you have to realize that people are going to be afraid. You know, as we move toward an election cycle, you also have to realize that politicians are going to say what they need to get the votes they want. And that's where you just have to be sort of thoughtful about what the probabilities are of being attacked.
Laura Brown for us in Washington, D.C. Laura, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
I'm the leading state sponsor of terrorism